don't get me wrong. I had plenty of really great nights doing stand-up. But I had jokes like I would go up there and say, like, I wish I were Mexican and a realtor so that I could start a business called What Up Homes. And, like, that would get a massive...
I wish I was Mexican and a realtor so I could start a business called What Up Homes.
Why did you do that?
Just it's just something, just to make sure that we could.
Oh, the levels for the audio.
Well, yeah, it was some certain things like because I didn't hear it that well. I want to make sure we could mix that properly.
Okay, cool.
I was thinking about. I would love if I was Mexican and a realtor, so I could have a business called What Up Homes.
Blabbity blue, scoop dee. Oh yeah.
Let me know if I'm doing this right. I think this is good, right?
Yeah. Hold on.
I don't know why I'm acting like I've never done anything.
Yeah, you've done this before. You're maybe more used to it like this, though.
Oh, a boom. Yeah. And I'm looking at De Niro and I'm like, just give me my daughter back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There was let me actually focus and then we'll get into it.
Rick Glassman's starting lineup.
Isn't that cool?
Holy shit, that is cool. Who made that for you?
I keep forgetting his Instagram name, but we'll put it up here.
Dude,
he makes custom.
I love guys who make custom toys. I just had a custom toy made.
What was the character of you? Of what?
No, I had a custom toy made by this guy. He made me a Randy the Ram Robinson, Mickey Rourke from The Wrestler.
And they don't make that, so you had to get a custom.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep paying him to make cool custom toys for me. I want to show you this guy. I want him to make me a Nick Cage from Con Air. Ooh, woo, bro, what?
Rap gift from Con Air, dude.
Are you kidding me?
How cool is this?
That is unreal. I cannot believe you have that.
It's my favorite piece of clothing.
And is it dual-sided where you can do the orange version too?
If I was Will Smith, I would, I guess, if I were going to Bill Air High. But
yes.
It's not meant for that.
No. That is amazing.
Isn't it cool?
I have a rap coat as well from A Few Good Men.
Why?
I'm obsessed with that movie.
So you purchased it as a collector?
I bought it as a collector, and by the way, it's a large, and I'm a very big man, so.
Is that the only one you could find?
Yeah. So when I drop like another 40, 50 pounds, I'm gonna be wearing that as my literal winter coat. It's gonna be amazing.
When did you buy it? How long ago?
Oh, probably a year or so ago. I bought a bunch of weird movie paraphernalia stuff, memorabilia. I have like electronic press kits for like waiting for Guffman and Wet Hot American Summer and stuff.
I have some Wet Hot American Summer stuff, but maybe I'll show you my stuff later.
I'm obsessed with Wet Hot.
Yeah, I'm a huge David Wayne fan.
Yeah, me too. He's great. Well, you got to work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Amazing.
It was I had on my bulletin board directors I want to work with before I did anything. It was Edgar Wright and David Wayne. And that was the first.
Oh, Edgar will happen. I feel like that's going to happen.
How?
Because I think you're very funny and he needs funny people in his movies. And you're also still pretty young. Are you my age?
22? How old are you?
No, I'm 21 and a half.
Oh, I'm a little older than you.
No, you don't look very old. So I think you have a lot of time with Edgar still. Edgar's only, what, 50? Probably.
What, you say a lot of time because, like...
You're funny and you have time on your
side. Does he only do young guys? Edit that out.
Are we talking about Bryan Singer?
Okay, all right. Bleep it.
No, really, Bryan Singer.
I don't know enough. I've heard some things.
I've heard more than enough to know Bryan Singer. And Kevin Spacey, and you don't have to edit those out.
Okay.
No, we should probably.
I might want to
those out.
bleep the F words because on YouTube, the first 5 minutes we try to do swear free.
You know what? Let's do this whole episode swear free and make it a special.
No.
Come on.
No, we're going to want to swear. What happens if we start talking about sex positions?
As you and I are wont to do. I just thought it'd be interesting that I could be the one curse-free episode. Not that we'd not curse, but we'd bleep all of them.
Bleep them all.
Let's bleep them all. Let's make this like a PG.
Now, what's swearing? Just F words?
I think anything that would make a grandparent go, gee, I wish he wouldn't have said that.
Huh. You know what we should do? We should keep track of all the things that we're unsure of. And at the end, do you have any grandparents still around?
I have one. I have a grandmother.
No one has one and is a grandpa, unfortunately.
You know, grandmothers, I feel like they take care of themselves a little
Careful.
bit better. Those, you don't want
Where are we
those,
going with this?
you don't want those grandpas pounding Twitter and canceling you. No, I think grandpas are like, let me just sit here and talk about the past and eat meatloaf. And grandmothers are like, we should probably get in a brisk walk.
Interesting. My grandma's a big alcoholic. Well, not anymore, but she was up until she was like 90. I don't know if that's fair to say. She drank. She loved to drink.
Maybe a mimosa in one of these like service type cups and a brisk walk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. My grandma loves to walk. She also has friends that are my age. Keep her young.
Ooh.
Yeah. She was in retail and she would like.
You winked at me. Are you alluding to something?
Well, if we were swearing, I'd tell you a little more. But I want to get back more into the collectibles that you buy.
You almost went full primetime Glick on me.
Yeah, Jiminy Glick.
I was wondering about interviewing Justin Timberlake. I find him to be imaginative.
What is your
I have Martin
genre?
Short on my arm,
What-
by the way.
Short and stern.
Martin Short, Daniel Stern, Chris Farley, Jim Varney, Jim Carrey, Robin Williams.
You don't know who Jim Varney is.
Ernest
I'm telling you the truth.
from the Ernest movies.
Oh.
You've never seen Ernest?
Yes. I just didn't realize that was his name.
You go, yes, I just didn't realize he earned that type of loyalty.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant when I was saying I was being honest.
Sorry, you had a question.
Thank you. You're a funny guy first, aren't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but you found a pocket of like not the funny guy. And you're like being celebrated, and rightfully so. But I'm saying
Thanks. Yeah, it kind of just happened. Not that I didn't want that. I desired that and may have tried to construct that in some way. But, early on, it was, I took classes at Improv Olympic Theater in Chicago where Farley studied. I took one level of UCB out here. Which was fun, but I didn't learn much. I learned a lot in Chicago. Chicago really has sort of a different angle on improvisational comedy, and I think it's just a little bit more bookish in a good way, a little more collegiate. And then I did stand-up for like over a decade.
I knew you did stand-up. I knew you tried stand-up. I didn't know you did it for a decade.
Did for a while, yeah. I did Meltdown Comics. I did the Comedy Store. I did Formosa Cafe. I did Federal Bar out in NoHo. Like I made the rounds for sure.
This is an annoying momentum thing, but could you just fix this for me? It's kind of, look at your wire. It's bugging me a little.
Oh, in what way?
Just put this up here.
Oh.
I know.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hey, that congruency made me feel better too.
Yeah, and I could hear you better now. What made you stop doing stand-up? Was it acting? You're making too good of a living doing...
No, I just wasn't... I conceded to the fact that I wasn't that good at stand-up. Like I was... Don't get me wrong. I had plenty of really great nights doing stand-up. And I had people come up and tell me, you're a killer comic and all that crap. But the reality is I never had the point of view that is necessary. There needs to be a point of view for a great comedian, I think. And for me, a lot of it was just me having fun. kind of like Galifianakis Purple Onion, where you're like
Great special.
shouting at somebody, and then you're just kind of like you're saying a one-liner, and then you're.
But that's a great special.
Yeah, and I guess I was just not the
Having
best
enough
version
fun.
of that. enough like Zach. No, I had. I'm trying to think of a joke. Mind you, this is dating back 10, 12 years ago.
Oh
but
shit, that's pre-COVID.
I mean, I did stand up more recent than that. I did the improv with Skylar Stone like 5-6 weeks ago. But I had jokes like I would go up there and say like, I wish I were Mexican and a realtor,
Sure.
so that I could start a business called What Up Homes. And like that would get a massive.
I wish I was Mexican and a realtor so I could start a business called What Up Homes.
Why did you do that?
Just it's just something just to make sure that we could.
Oh, the
subtitle
levels
this.
for the audio.
Well, yeah, it was some certain things like because I didn't hear it that well. I want to make sure we could mix that properly.
Okay, cool.
I want to now cut to a clip of me doing that joke at a club.
I was thinking about, I would love if I was Mexican and a realtor, so I could have a business called What Up Homes.
So yeah, I had dumb sort of one-liner jokes like that, and then I would do really like long, almost like SNL characters, and where I just go into a character. Like I would walk up and I would say, I would walk on a stage and I would immediately just go, because people didn't know me from TV or movies yet. I would go, "Hey everybody, how you doing? I just moved to Los Angeles a couple weeks ago and getting the lay of the land. Y'all are interesting. I've noticed that y'all don't eat ice cream out here like we do back home. Y'all eat froyo. Y'all love the froyo." And they're all laughing because fish out of water, they're buying it.
Sure.
They think I'm this guy. And I go, I think y'all do it because y'all think you're being healthy, but the reality is like, yeah, you know, you get the froyo, then you put, what do you put on it? You put chocolate covered cherries and gummy bears and Reese's bits and little cheesecake bites. Y'all, that's ice cream. Like, dude, y'all are eating ice cream. It would get huge laughs. Like I could have ran with that character and been more successful than if I did myself.
Right.
And then like somewhere like 3 to 4 minutes in, I would go, can you guys imagine if I actually talked like that?
Why is that a problem?
Why is what a problem?
You're saying you don't have a strong point of view, but you're doing fun character work.
Yeah, but I is that a point of view? I guess it is in a microcosmic way, but I think it needs to be. I need more to say, I think. Jamie Masada also dressed me down in Chicago at the Improv there. I did like an audition thing. They called me and were like, hey, we want you to go do this. This was 2012.
Jamie Masada, that's Laugh Factory.
Or that's who it is, Laugh Factory, sorry.
Yeah.
But Masada like took me up to his office to give notes and he's like, just come back in 2 weeks. And I was like, well, anything I can do better? He's like, all of it. I don't know. It was just like, felt like somebody wrote it for you. It didn't really feel real. It was like an SNL audition or something. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I said, in 2 weeks I'll come back and I'll nail it. And he goes, yeah, you're full of shit. And I was like, I was really messed up from that. Like it shouldn't have hit me that hard. It should have just been like, oh, he's a comedy club guy. But it really, like, I got really drunk that night and was really depressed, and I never went back.
How does that compare to rejection in your acting life?
Well, now I'm calloused up and I have a different confidence and I'm sober. Like, there's a lot has changed in the last 11 years since that happened. But
How long have you been sober?
like a year and 7 months.
Today?
No, not today. Just...
I was going to wish you a happy anniversary.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, well. Now, how do we fill the time? It's just, you see, I have all these streamers and balloons and...
There's just ceiling opens up.
The first decade at least of my stand-up, I don't know if it's character work as much as just like making really strong hyperbolic choices and like playing broad version of the way I see things. And I don't know. I always thought that shit was fun.
Oh, I think it's fun too. I also like, I got stuck in the bringer show thing where like Michael Q would be like, hey, can you bring 40 people and I'll put you on after Fortune Feimster? And I'd be like, no, like I can't keep doing this.
If we were doing an improv show and it was fake and you're doing this situation and referencing these names, it would feel so inside. I know. I mean, I used to do his bringer shows all the time.
Yeah.
That's just such a funny random reference.
Yeah. My first show in LA was February of 2010. And I was on a lineup alongside Fortune Feimster, Amir K, like a couple people that like made it. And I brought 19 or 20 people to the belly room. So half the room is my people. And I remember they said you get like I think it was $5 per person you bring. And
$80.
And I brought so many people that they like topped me off and like gypped me like 4 or 5, like $20-$30 or something. And
18 people?
19. So that would have been
95.
I'm bad at math. I'm really bad at math.
It's just 20 times 10 would be 200.
Well,
so half of that is 100 minus 5.
Yeah, so I think I was owed like $95 maybe.
You got none of it?
No, I got like 25 or 30. Like that. I just remember being miffed about that, not knowing like you got to pay your dues, dumbass. Like, calm down.
Do you want to spend, instead of podcasting, turn this episode, I don't know if you have the time, into I don't know about a documentary, but just film us and I'll chop it down, going to collect that $70? Jokes aside, how funny would that be? We're in the car, we're getting pumped up. We put gloves. Hey, I think you have to get gloves if you could collect money, right?
For sure. A younger
me would try and sell you on this.
I think a younger me would do it. I think I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, that's a funny idea.
Yeah, and then it comes out and then people see it and they're like, that was funny.
Yeah,
like, all right.
Then they're like, why is this guy doing this? I'd rather do if we were to do like a pranky sort of docu thing, I would want to like have us dress up in character and like sell pizza on the street or something.
All right, let me get my camera guy.
Hey, the marinara's been in. I'm tired.
I get it.
I'm just tired.
We're older. We're fucking older.
I also came from the gym and I'm intermittent fasting. So like my body hurts. I'm super hungry and I'm tired because I have an 8-week-old baby at home who wakes me up twice a night.
You have 2 kids?
2.
How's the other one?
The other one is 2 years and a month and or 2 years and 2 months almost. I don't know.
Today? Are they both sober as well? So when are you allowed to eat?
That's so funny.
What time are you allowed to eat?
I try to eat between noon and 7 or like 1 and 7.
So I have some healthy options here. If you want a little snack and something.
That was really sweet.
Including some berries from Air One.
I brought some antioxidants. Okay. I brought some pistachios and a little thing of like almond butter that you suck through a packet like you're a fucking astronaut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also came here, I think this is interesting, from the gym, and your gym bag is a carry-on suitcase.
A small rolling suitcase.
Yeah. What do you have in there?
All sorts of secrets about the future.
Okay. Why do you bring those to the gym?
No,
Do you have your own dumbbells?
Well,
in there?
it's a barter system, really.
Gotcha.
They train me, and then I tell them, like, just so you know, flying cars is never a thing.
Okay.
We don't make it that far.
Do you?
No, the gym bag is my clothing, my toiletries, and then a couple books. I've been trying to make myself read books
At the gym?
To and from, when I'm in an Uber or when I'm waiting on something, or you know.
Did you Uber here?
Yeah, I did.
Do you drive?
No, I have my permit, and I need to take my test again and get my license.
I think I found a documentary.
That could be a good documentary, actually.
Mm-hmm. I want to know.
Documentary short. Let me just put a fine point on that.
I feel like by doing that,
there's not a full doc in that.
I think that we decide that after you cut it, because what if it's not short?
Anytime you decide the narrative in post, it gets a little dicey.
Not the narrative, the length, big difference. Believe me.
We still talking about docs?
Okay. Get rid of the O, put in an I.
Balloons. Can we just get the balloons for that? Oh, I missed it. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
If you're looking for just the right flooring, you need choices. And at Marshall Carpet One, you'll find thousands of choices, including carpet, hardwood, rugs, and luxury vinyl. So make the right choice and visit Marshall Carpet One and Rug Gallery. And we promise, with more than 50 years as a family-owned business, we've got you covered!
We're going to keep going. How are you? Do you want a little bite? Should we keep going?
I'm good.
I got questions. How are you feeling? I know what it's like to not eat and come from a gym. I appreciate you making time here.
No, this is so fun.
All right.
Yeah, ask away.
All right, we're going to get into the real shit here.
Okay.
How many people have you f***ed? Oh, edit that out. We're not swearing. We're going to come back from commercial now. Listen, I understand it's a commercial, but that mattress and or the therapy, it's like I use it. It's really good.
Yeah, you don't just endorse any product. You're the type where you're gonna,
Careful.
You're a salesman.
Truth is, and I know you're just doing a little game, but I do want to say I used to only want to do commercials of things that like I would actually use and do use, or maybe even already used. It really limited me. Full transparency, and I've said this. I now will only do stuff that I've tried and I like, and I'm honest with it. But like, give me the money, dude. Bleep it.
No, I want that big fat wet money. You know,
David Wayne.
I told what?
It sounded like big hot wet hot American summer.
Big fat. I told my reps recently, my agents, I said, because a friend of mine, I won't say who, but a friend of mine said to me, who's in our business, does what we do.
I'm going to guess, but whether he says yes or no, bleep it. Michael Q?
No. A friend of mine said he was offered $3 million for about a week's worth of work to sell, like a beverage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? Because he's reputable, but it's not like he's Chris Evans. So I was like, holy shit. Okay, well, I probably won't get offered $3 million, but $300K? Huh?
Did he do it?
He did, and it ended up like, he told me what he used the money for, and it was something important, and I was like, oh, that's great. So I went to my people, and I said, dude, I will sell hemorrhoid cream and off-brand Skittles. Like, I don't care. Just let me buy a house someday, because I've been renting my
Are you still renting?
life. Oh, yeah.
That's the thing.
I'm a character actor. I don't have money. I have money, but I don't have money.
Right. I hear you. I've talked about this on this pod a few times, how crazy it is to like the amount of success you have to be a proper homeowner.
In California, yeah. I mean, if I wanted to go live in Tupelo or Harrisburg or Boulder, Colorado, I could have a freaking nice house somewhere.
Well, those are the big three, yeah. I actually know who you're talking about, and I want to cut to a clip of that commercial.
I love that you're a fan of Vinny Chase, just like I am.
I mean, I want to show. I wanted to show you things, but I'm not going
to.
Oh
yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh, dude. Oh, I am in love with this.
Isn't that cool?
Man, it is great. Oh, that's so good. The David Hyde Pierce, I think, is my favorite.
Cool, right?
Stop.
We have a lot of appreciations in common, so it seems.
Oh my God. And Robert Duvall. I never saw that. Was Duvall in Queens Boulevard?
You've never seen Queens Boulevard?
I am Queens Boulevard.
I am Queens Boulevard.
A film by Bill. Oh my gosh. Ray Liotta. I worked with Ray Liotta.
I know.
I love him.
I want to talk about that show, actually.
Oh man, I think we appreciate the same funny, specific stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this is cool. This is a good vibe. I just saw a video of Adrian Grenier talking about semen retention on a podcast.
Send it to me.
When I was celibate and I was even practicing semen retention for an extended period of time, 3+ months. And then I was like, okay.
I am Queens Boulevard.
I will. I just sent it out to a ton of people this morning.
What is semen retention? As in like holding, not ejaculating
you
for a
don't
little bit?
ejaculate for like months on end. Okay. Supposedly it
seems like he's not doing well.
Supposedly it gives you power.
Huh.
A power that no one can replicate.
Yeah, well, you can't replicate by design if you don't ejaculate. I mean, that's the whole purpose of ejaculating.
Man, you are quick.
You should see the other guy.
You're quicker than a hiccup. You should see the other guy. I was watching a clip of you, and you do that thing where you say,
each other's sentences?
No, you do a thing where you end something. It was the Bill Burr episode you did, and you ended a sentence with a punchline from something completely different. And it's you like... She said. No, not that's what she said.
Boy, are my arms tired.
Boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that me and my friends would do in like high school where like we'd be like, hey, a bird in the hand is worth... and say something totally different.
One of my best friends, Johnny DeWalt, shout out John DeWalt, his Instagram handle up here.
The comedian?
Do you know John DeWalt? He's
little guy. He's from Chicago.
He's from Chicago. I wouldn't say he's little. He's actually really strong now.
Okay, he wasn't when I knew him.
No, he wasn't strong then. He's been strong a few years now.
Yeah,
but he was Second City in Chicago. He did I.O., I think, in Boone, Chicago.
I met John in like 2000 and... I met John DeWalt in like 2006.
Right before he moved here.
I met him forever ago. We were both like obsessed with The Lonely Island and watching. And we would go and watch improv shows at I.O.
Yeah, it's one of my best
wonder
friends.
if he'd remember me.
I'm sure he remembers you.
So funny.
Get him on the phone. We'll remember. I want to get back. There was something I was going to say. Oh, I remember.
Semen retention.
Yeah, thank you.
Gulp, 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 gulp.
See, you might not have a strong point of view by your admission, but your sip take timing is horrible. We'll be right back. It's good sip take timing. I was just burning you.
Hey everyone, this is Steve. This is Kevin. Tune in this July 20th. Hey everyone, this is Steve. This is Kevin. Tune in to True TV this Thursday, July 20th. For the season premiere of Tacoma FD. Get angry for Tacoma FD, motherfucker.
Samuel L. Jackson?
Yes. I mean, that's his phrase.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, it's Steve.
Yeah, this is like you do a podcast the way David O. Russell directs, where you'll David O. Russell will like stop an actor in the middle of a scene or just like shout direction.
I want to cut to a clip of him in the middle of a scene stopping saying, all right, listen, lift your legs. I'm going to have you, we're going to animate diarrhea all over your guest because that's kind of what we do. But the direction of this show is so fun for me, but when I'm having somebody that I don't really know on, you run the risk of like, how much momentum am I killing or upsetting? Well, so I'm trying to, but also there's fun bits.
For me, it's fun to play in your world and like surrender to the process. I like it.
That's where I wanted to go. And if you remember, I want to call go ahead.
Has anyone ever told you you look like if Rick Moranis got bullied way less?
No.
Cut to Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold, a clip from the movie Big Bully.
Big Bully.
There's something there.
Yeah, but put Rick Moranis' face on Tom Arnold to show that he's not getting bullied as much. But then the kids, it's a whole new movie.
AI.
Careful. People might take that seriously. Your improv, you loved improv. You started with improv. You did stand-up. You felt I didn't have a strong enough point of view. I was doing more character stuff anyway. So it seems like you loved, you felt you like improv better, right?
Exponentially more. Yeah. Exponentially.
This is a dirty thing for me to maybe say, considering I don't do improv really anymore, and I love stand-up.
You should, because you're very good at it.
Each other's sentences. I miss it, and it's a completely different thing. And I wonder how much, watching your choices and stuff, not that it matters if it's scripted or not. Everything is scripted and then people make choices. I get that. But relative to that, I see you doing things and it feels like you're improvising all the time. So that's just great job, great acting.
Thanks.
Not to compare anything, but Steve Carell in The Office does it flawlessly.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea what's scripted or not unless you could tell, oh, this is a story point. That you never know.
It's brilliant.
You're not doing it necessarily as a comedian, but they're very funny things and they're very specific choices. And I've thought about this. I thought about this. First time I remember seeing you was I, Tonya. And I remember thinking amazing movie. And I remember thinking, obviously you were funny in that. I don't know if you were supposed to be. I don't want to tell you. You tell me.
I was, yeah.
You were supposed to. It was scripted that way?
Trying to be.
But was it scripted that way?
I mean, it was scripted that way. It was intentional. I think they wanted that. But also, you know, the way to be funny in a movie like that is to not try to be funny. You play it straight.
Very straight, yeah. That's the whole point that I'm over communicating to get around is, and that is my religion in comedy. And it actually has been quite an obstacle with my stand-up where you just prioritize being believable before being funny and hope that the situation is funny enough.
To me, that's like the comedy acting gospel, I think. Depending on the kind of comedy, though, you know, like I, Tonya was a very specific voice. Speaking of having a voice or point of view, that was a very specific voice.
Tonally, not the story, you mean?
Tonally, from writer Stephen Rogers. So that was the kind of thing where I went to the sort of John Goodman in Big Lebowski or Catherine O'Hara in Anything playbook, where it's all about honoring the character's desires and them being somewhat not self-aware, I think.
The character not being self-aware.
Whereas if you put me in a show like After Party, I did season 2 of The After Party, which airs this summer, July on Apple. That was an instance where I was not trying to be super actory. I might have had some good moments.
What does super actory mean?
Leaning into the earnestness and
how is that super actory? I'm really asking.
No. So if we're talking the mechanics of a comedic performance in a semi-drama movie, like I, Tonya has drama.
You're talking about being grounded.
Yeah. Sorry. The best way to distill it would be giving a grounded comedic performance versus a heightened comedic
something
performance.
Broad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think there's two ways to do it. For me, sometimes it is like giggity, and you're just leaning into
like when you do the Family Guy,
the comedy. And then other times you're grounded. And I, Tonya was one of those moments.
I haven't finished Blackbird. I started it because I'm like, oh, you're coming over. I should watch it. I'm sorry.
I wasn't Freudian or something. I really had to yawn.
No, I'm sorry, I haven't finished it yet. But it's so good, and there are things that you're doing in there that aren't funny.
Yeah.
But like they're funny because they're so specific. Smelling a pen or just the way you're blinking or just taking your time and things. And I get insecure on set. I think I'm maybe past. Obviously not. I said it. I used to be much more insecure. I still have this insecurity of taking too much time, taking too much breath between things. Like I want to have my thoughts, but is this going to be cut down? Am I milking it? Am I wasting people's time? Are people going to be upset with me? You know, I'm not the lead of this, telling this story. So I'm here to facilitate. I'm taking too much time. And I watch you take so much time in the nicest, best way. And it feels like improvising it because it feels like the reason you're taking that time is because you didn't know what you were going to do yet.
Right. No, and that's a bit of an actor trick too, of like letting because in real life, if you ask me a question, I might rapid fire it, but I also might take 12 seconds, you know, like, yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I think that's important. There's a famous thing where like Paul Thomas Anderson made fun of Phil Hoffman on the set of Magnolia because he's like, this is how I look at a picture. And he walks up to a framed photo, looks at it and goes, sets down. And then he's like, this is Phil. And he does like a whole, you know, death of a salesman by way of, you know, minute moment. And so I think I lean toward that where I don't milk it to milk it. I milk it because I'm feeling it. But, you know, the only real piece of direction I got I did a Clint Eastwood movie called Richard Jewell. And the only real direction I got from Clint on the movie was like, pace it up. He would say, skip to my loo. A little more, skip to my loo. And then he'd walk away.
You know, I played basketball with Skip to my loo. Do you know and one basketball player?
Oh, I remember seeing those clips when I was younger, but I don't like know the players or whatever.
Only and one player, I think, to play in the NBA.
How tall are you?
6'3", but I could play 6'1" to 6'5".
All right, we're gonna cut to Rick playing like a really tall guy like George Mirasan and My Giant opposite Billy Crystal, and then him doing Little Man, the sort of baby version of Marlon Wayans in that comedy.
May I offer you some of this?
Stop it.
Clifford, thanks.
Jesus, man.
Clifford, thanks.
I do improvise a lot, but I try to do it within the natural realm, and I'm not adding like raisinets to fettuccine Alfredo.
You're adding it to popcorn.
What?
You're adding it to popcorn. Am I doing the analogy fair?
No, absolutely. Absolutely, that's it. And I think I think some actors think that they can improvise and then they do it and it's kind of like,
By think they can, do you mean think they have the ability or think it fits in the tone of what they're making?
I mean both. I think they'll some actors will say something and it's a little bit like a high schooler doing improv, where it's like, I'm going to say something that I think is funny. And it's like, well, you also have to take into account, is this a button for the end of the scene? Can the editor use that?
Yeah.
Is this overriding somebody else's choice they made a moment ago? Like, there are other variables at play. It's like if I told you hey, we need another chair in this room, and then I just bought a chair without measuring. You know what I mean? You got to measure.
What you're saying is stuff that I have so much conscious thought about that I honestly, in scenes, that I honestly believe it has made me a better listener in real life, and like has made me, I mean, I still interrupt, I still talk and over communicate a lot, but like understanding where is this going to go after now? Like even watching this podcast and editing and being like, I didn't need that, or we could have done this or whatever. In life, just like, is this going to end the scene? Can they use it? Is it stepping on somebody else's thing? I think that's
100%.
And I think that it's easier to understand that in a narrative than it is in real life.
Wow.
Because I understand
that's
the story.
Actually kind of poignant. That's kind of deep. Like I think I do it better on set than in real life, 100%. Because I'm very kind of what would the word be? I kind of act unleashed in the real world, and sometimes it's to the detriment of others, and I have to be more thoughtful.
I think that's
not trying to be a downer.
That's a pretty pessimistic way of looking at it, but I understand if you're looking at the double-edged sword of wanting to do those things. I'm just trying to be
honest. Yeah, I think sobriety really forces you to look at yourself through a sobriety forces you to look at yourself through a lens of newness, rather than knowing one's own resume and their likes, dislikes, pros and cons. You then have to look at yourself and say, what is this thing I'm doing or saying? What is this doing to someone who doesn't know me at all? You know what I mean? And that's been a bit of a course correction for me only recently.
I empathize very strongly. I'm not sober. I don't really drink much, but I came into some self-awareness with some stuff 6 years ago that it felt like a sobriety to me.
Yeah.
And it's all about how I'm being received, that I was always missing. I always knew how I was being received. You felt about me however I felt about me, and I was wrong. So I spent a lot of time trying to understand how I was being received, but I still don't know. I just am aware that I don't know, so you have to check in sometimes.
Yeah.
But on 100%. Set, unlike in an organic conversation, everybody does, at least it's fair to assume, everybody does have the same goal. They're trying to get to the same place.
Yes.
Which in a conversation, you're not. Not only is tone probably going to be different, intention and want, and I have to get out of here, I'm having a good time. It's all
those
so how
variables.
Could you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I value comedy so much, because as much as people say that comedy is subjective, I don't buy. Everything is subjective. I don't buy into comedy being as subjective as people say it is. You might not laugh at this. You may not. This might not be your sense of humor. That's funny. This is a funny thing. I had this conversation on Trash Tuesday. I don't know if it's worth cutting to a clip with Esther and Cruella, I guess, but more Esther was fighting it. But like looks and comedy, I don't think are as subjective as people say they are.
Do you guys think Dumb and Dumber is a funny movie?
I don't remember.
Yeah, of course.
What do you mean, of course?
Well, there's nostalgia tied to it for me because my dad and I watched it, and the movie theater in the Philippines was so packed that people were like sitting on the aisles, like not even on actual
Even in the
seats.
Philippines, Dumb and Dumber was funny.
Hilarious, yes.
Would you say you understand that some people might not think it's funny, but objectively, like, that's a funny movie?
Wait. Are you trying to argue that Dumb and Dumber is objectively funny?
What I'm saying is in the same way
that's the movie you chose?
Yeah, it's not the funniest movie in the world, but it's a very funny, big, broad movie.
Okay.
And it's just like,
you don't think there's a ton of smart people right now that will look at that? And I don't remember anything about the movie, but my top of my intelligence guess is that everyone, even in this room right now, would look at that movie today and be like, this is stupid and not funny, and it won't make me laugh out loud.
Okay, then you're pretty. You're a beautiful girl.
Thank you.
I want to... This is the kind of thing where I want to like marinate on that for a second. Looks and comedy are not as subjective. I would agree with comedy. Looks, I think that is subjective.
I'm not saying they're not subjective, and I'm not saying that they're equally.
You're talking about the measurement of subjective.
I'm saying where my mom will sell you so hard on how looks could, once you get to know somebody, they're so much better looking. Yes. And if, you might like this more than this, and, depending on your culture. Yeah. I know, of course. This guy is hot. This girl is hot.
Yeah.
This person is not as hot.
Gilbert Grape's mother versus, I'm trying to think of an actress, Halle Berry. Like,
it's not that subjective.
No, it's very objective.
Yes. Unless you like black girls, Gilbert Grape's mom is hotter. Do you understand what I'm saying? And with comedy, it's similar. And I just find that, like, if you could be funny whatever. I don't want to get into this. I've talked about it.
No. I think I'll give my example of what you're saying. I think, and it's not kind. It's definitely like mean comedy, but sometimes mean comedy is wonderful. I know of this clip where Kelsey Grammer is giving a speech on stage, or it's a play or something, and he falls off stage. And I feel bad for him when it happens because, yeah, of course, like it must suck to be in the middle of some like what you think you're killing it in like a speech or a play, and then hurt yourself. Especially, he was probably in his 40s when he took the spill. So I have sympathy for that or whatever, but like when I watch it, it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And I bet you most people would laugh at that.
Yeah.
Outside of thinking it's funny that he's hurt.
Objectively funny to see a well-poised famous person who has this voice that is so theatrical, like he's crawling out of a Charles Dickens thing. And then he's just like, oh, God, son of a bitch. Like,
yeah,
that's very funny.
I mean, by definition, it's a joke. It's a literal and metaphorical left turn, assuming that's how he turned.
Yeah.
But like high status falling, it's funny.
Yep. That's objectively funny to me.
So in organic conversation, I have relied on comedy because it's the only, what I falsely assume, but confidently do, it's the only common goal. We all want to laugh.
Oh man, that's all I want to do actually. I want to laugh more than I want to eat, and I love eating.
It's good merch.
Is that my new diet? Don't pick up the burger. Pick up the whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
Don't eat the chicken. Get yourself a rubber chicken.
Do you understand why rubber chickens are funny? I know I'm missing something, but I never got it. I don't know the origins.
Why is it funny?
Yeah, I don't know the origins of it. It doesn't work for me.
I'm sure it's some like vaudeville thing that they were like, can you believe we did this? And we'd all be like, tight.
But whoopee cushions are funny to me.
Of course they are. Fart machines are also funny, but it depends on how they're used. There's one use for a whoopee cushion, put it on the seat. But a fart machine.
I've also often said a fart machine is the penis of comedy. It's not the size, it's not the sound, it's how you use it.
Sure. I think I tracked that.
Well, isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, but now I'm just thinking of dicks and farts, and I was really just kind of one track in the fart
I'm
thing.
sorry. That's this
No,
podcast.
that's on me.
You know the Liam Neeson clips, right? Have you seen those?
Oh, the what? The which one?
Leslie Nielsen clips, I mean, of him and his fart machine.
I don't know that I have.
Do you not know them?
I don't think so. Please text me that.
Text
me Leslie Nielsen. I'll text you Adrian Grenier.
But I actually want to put this up on the podcast. It's an example. Like if somebody says farting isn't funny, and people say that,
those aren't real people to me.
I would say, watch this. Fart on Conan. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just thought of like pizza is objectively good.
Right.
Like anybody who's like, I don't like pizza. It's like, well, you definitely were abused as a child.
That's the example I gave. Pizza. Like that's, some people don't like pizza, sure, but
it's okay to not like it a lot, but you can't say you don't like pizza. You're a weirdo.
Put on the headphones so you could hear this.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to, I'm going to put this in. But he carries it everywhere he goes.
Do you think Conan knew that it was a machine?
I think he knew that he was doing something. I don't know if he knew it was. I mean, Conan knows everything, every bit that's happening. He wasn't expecting it, and he didn't. I saw when he like, what is happening at first, and then Leslie keeps doing it.
I heard that Jonah Hill had a fart machine on the set of the movie Don't Look Up.
Something that I've been so frustrated.
And like I couldn't tell by the way they talked about it. I couldn't tell if the fellow cast members thought it was funny, or if they were annoyed by it. And maybe that's the point. I mean, maybe that's also the point of that version of comedy. Sometimes
I want
to provoke for your own amusement. I mean, I've done that.
I want to piggyback that into stuff I wanted to ask you about. which is you on set making these choices, which it's all about honesty. I mean, you said that, right? As long as it's believable and it's what the character is thinking and or doing, do it, and then let that be funny because of the specificity, right?
Yeah, or just the appropriateness, and that makes you a bit of a peripheral writer, you know, because sometimes it's not even that a scene needs something. It's me just going, if I were writing this would be a really clever, good thing to put in here.
Could you give an example?
I can give a lot of examples, but I'm trying to think of the one that I think I want to share for a public audience, which I guess would be when I did BlacKkKlansman for Spike Lee. I played a racist piece of shit. And I did a very sort of racist face to John David Washington because Spike wanted me to provoke him in this scene, like, you're making him feel uncomfortable. He's the one black man in this room full of white supremacists. And I did a thing where, you know, in that character, I like put my tongue into my lips and like made my lips look bigger and kind of like imitated that kind of super racist freaking, you know, the white supremacist trying to impersonate like a monkey or something and put it in his face. Now, I felt awful doing it. I did not like doing it. But in that moment, I'm trying to be truthful to that character. And that character's immature. He's a bigot. And Spike is telling me to try to provoke him. And I'm doing it without words. So
if Spike doesn't say try to provoke him, would you not feel safe making that choice?
No, yeah, I wouldn't feel safe.
Is that lip thing a black thing? Or are you just saying in that context?
Oh, God, it's not a black thing at all. It's the idea of a white person's interpretation.
But I'm saying outside of that, I've done that big lip thing. I've never thought of it as a black... Like black lips.
You shouldn't. It's a weird racist
I understand.
Thing,
So you're saying this guy was... I understand
this guy, it's the old cartoon. I mean, you go back into the Coca-Cola brand and look at their early advertisements. There's freaking tons of weird racist shit. So it's more that old idea of... Have you seen the old, like, the black dolls they have from, like, the early 20th century?
No, I only have the new ones.
It's hysterical. But that's hysterical, not the old one. Let's fucking edit that.
Good save.
I guess what I'm trying to say is my brain is in that character, and then I also have to go to a bit of a time machine and say, what did he grow up seeing and hearing that will influence how he treats this man?
All right, I want to add.
So it's a layered improv. It's a layered thought or whatever I'm doing in that moment. And I'm proud of the creative choice because Spike asked me to do that. But it was very uncomfortable to do. And once again, it wasn't in the script. But Spike said, you know, kind of make him feel this way. So I was like, this is my way of making him feel this way.
I have a question that I'm asking very much for me to learn this.
Okay.
First, I want to say, if it hasn't been clear already, I think you're incredible, and I'm about to debrief. I'm about to give more information that's necessary about that, just because I've heard so many. I listen to podcasts, and it's very flattering, and a lot of compliments, and a lot of things, and a lot of. I just want to say that. Just to validate what I'm saying, which is I'm being 100%. I watch your performances and I think this all the time. I just think what you do it's perfect. I think you're perfect. And I think you do it in a way that is my favorite form of comedy and my favorite form of play. and it's how I've connected with most of my good friends, and it has been an obstacle when people aren't on the same page as me, which is just committing to something and being in something and making it believable, because that is enough, as opposed to that getting in the way of something. And in my personal life, I've had to learn how to dance around that and not do it all the time. I'm catching myself even in this sometimes, take it easy. But on set, you do it flawlessly. And
thanks, man.
There's a lot to be insecure about or not feel. In this business, if we're lucky, we know what our strengths are. And then we try and tap into those things. And I have a lot of things that I'm unsure of, or a simple, easy version is I can't do voices. I can't do dialects. I'm not going to try. There are certain things that I'm very, very good at, that one of the things that might get in my way as I continue to hopefully be working is this, which is my question to you. The confidence in the ability to make the choice, let's call that a 10 out of 10, versus the confidence in, like we talked about before, stepping on somebody, getting in the way, wasting somebody's time, offending somebody if it's a racist choice, whatever the filters may be. By design, if any of those things exist, this ability is diminished. It gets in the way of being present. Do you understand what I'm saying so far? I haven't asked my question yet, but does that make sense so far?
Yes, the idea of if you're ill-confident, you can't perform at the 10 out of 10.
But the confidence doesn't have to be about the ability. The confidence could be about knowing how you're being received as a professional, of going into somebody else's set and being disrespectful, even if that's not your intention. And some choices could seem that way. Does that not make sense?
No, that makes sense. But if you think intellectually and creatively that the choice works, then you just have to own it. So part of that is you divorcing yourself from the outcome.
I could do that on stage. I could do
Gotta do it on set.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
My introduction to acting started before I came into some self-awareness, and I was doing things and I was free and I was making these choices at the best time. I later found out some people received me in a very negative way, didn't like certain things, I bothered them. Then I came into some awareness, and I know how to read a room based on energy. I don't know how to read a room on if people are okay with me. And I still have this thing when I'm on set.
Does anyone know that though? I don't know. At some point it becomes a choice of whether or not to care, because I don't know that I believe that everybody knows how they're received. I've met very reputable people that I've gone, not for me. And it doesn't mean I hate their guts. It just means like I don't receive whatever the hell they're putting out.
Yes, sure. But it is what it is, and that's human nature.
Yeah.
I'm talking further along the spectrum of like people not wanting to work with me and like not wanting to have me around, or things where it's like relationships got a little bit frayed.
Sure.
And I had no idea. So I do have this thing going in where I'm on this ABC comedy now called Not Dead Yet. And everyone is very nice. I feel very accepted. I get in these silly moods where I feel like, ooh, it's like a pocket I want to ride. But like I'm not the main part of this story. And I still have this, I'm using this term trauma very loosely, but this trauma, not just from acting, just from like looking back on my life and just being how I'm received, but like I really am having a very hard time making the choices I would make in an audition or on stage or even in person, because there's somebody else in the scene and I don't know what I'm doing. And what I have found, the only way around this is to almost ask. Now, if you're going to do a racist thing or touch somebody, I understand the need to ask because of just boundaries.
Sure.
But just making simple choices, I have found myself either not making them or not committing the way I want to, or asking. And something I have learned is asking just ruins it, because you're not doing it for the first time. I remember when I was doing stand up, I used to before doing on stage, I would like ask my friends and perform in front of them. And best case scenario in a living room, they'll be like, oh, that's funny. You're not going to get the big laugh.
No, right.
So stop asking. And I catch myself asking. So what I'm saying is I see what you're doing and I can't, outside of the lip thing or whatever, it seems like you're just doing the thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good compliment. Thank you. As far as inhabiting a character to a degree that you feel like I'm just doing the thing, I gotta say a lot of it is gonna be thoughtful immersion. And
what does that mean?
Thoughtful. Well,
as it comes.
So here's what it is. Immersion is, of course, the idea of immersing oneself in something. Thoughtful immersion is saying I'm not just throwing myself in. I have reasons for what I'm doing. And then I think commitment and that confidence to commit is the other part of it. And then, specificity is huge too, where it's like, how does the character sit? Why do they sit like that? They gave me this wardrobe. Do I want the sleeves down? Do I not? Like making a bunch of choices that seem frivolous, but aren't frivolous because you and I make those choices every day.
And that's what makes it so believable.
Yeah. And every day we're making choices of don't put it on the table without a coaster.
Yeah.
I don't like this song. It reminds me of that breakup I had.
Yeah.
Ooh, can you actually burn the toast just a little bit? I kind of like a burn. All these little seemingly rant things make up every human being. And sometimes those little things, I always say, are indicative of greater truths, right? So all that is to say, I make those part of the recipe. Now, going back to what you were saying on Not Dead Yet, sometimes you're not the lead of a show and you are there to fulfill one little thing. I just did a big splashy movie at Apple directed by Doug Liman with like Casey Affleck and Matt Damon. And I had one and a half scenes with Casey and Matt. I was number 8 or 9 on the call sheet. I am not one of the leads of the movie by any means. So in that moment, I also have to remember this is Casey and Matt's movie. If I'm going to improvise or do something, like make sure it makes sense to what's going on and is more of a seasoning salt than me saying, why don't we add more potatoes?
Yeah.
So it's just, so forgive me, I speak in food analogies like it's literally my doctorate. But I think knowing one's place without being then timid because of one's place. You still have to be daring. You can't be timid. But knowing what am I here to fulfill? The fact that you think you're neutering your own choices, I think, is deadly.
Same.
I think it's awful.
And it's the choices, and it's very specific. It's not the choices of wardrobe or any intention or choice that happens before being on set.
You're talking purely creative, like in the moment.
In the moment, being present and playing and knowing that like we don't need to use this or let's try this, but also knowing that like I don't remember what time is and how I found myself. This is in real life too, but speaking outside, I found myself after scenes or after conversations or something, because I've learned that people won't tell me how they feel, if they even know how they feel. I go, did I step on anything? Is everything? I'm sorry if there's this insecurity that I have developed that has nothing to do with ability, commitment, or choice, but more so, when am I stepping on someone's foot? I have no idea. And I do feel
that's fear trying to take you over, though. You have to just give the middle finger to that fear.
I'm 6 years old to this, though. This is what I was saying. My sobriety. I'm 6 years old into learning that this is happening.
Sure, but I just think at the end of the day, you have to operate out of fear or love. The two can't really abide, and I think you need to choose the love of yourself and the love of performing and the love of humor and creativity. And my thing has always been, don't ask permission, ask forgiveness if you have to. And I've been doing that way back since I was getting co-star guest stars on random TV shows. I never ask permission to
once you
improvise
ask,
something,
dead, even if they say yes.
Well, because when the fact that you're asking implies that you don't have the boldness to just go and do it.
Yeah.
So you're placing even granular doubt in the mind of the creatives. I did a show called Kingdom back in the day. It was about MMA fighters. Not a very widely seen show, but definitely a good one. And I was cast in a 2-episode co-star role, but it was at a halfway house full of guys that had been in the foster system and addicted to drugs. And there's all this rich sort of texture there that I really made some bold choices. I really just made some bold, very specific choices. Like I put a stick or a rock in my shoe so that even when I was sitting, I wasn't comfortable. And I would flick the back of my ear like this before takes until they yelled action. Then I'd let it go because I felt a residue like I was being bullied by a ghost or something. Like I just did all these things and it wasn't me being weird to be weird. I thought this to me is interesting. This is how I craft something where, you watch a movie and somebody has one scene and you go, damn, that was great casting. Whoever the hell that guy is that they got to play the truck stop guy. Like I was saying, let me be the local hire who feels like the real person. So I go and do that. And they ended up writing me into 24 episodes. It changed my life. I quit my day job. I never worked another waiter, server, door guy gig because I showed up and was really bold. And I think I just did it well. If you show up and be bold and you don't do it well, sometimes you strike out and they don't put you in the lineup again. You live in the dugout. But I don't think you're that type of person. I think you have probably a lot more to give that's being neutered out of fear.
I have an anecdote I'd like to give you of something on set.
Please.
I did the show that you saw with the basketball player. It's called Comedians. Larry Charles, Josh Gad, Billy Crystal.
I know Larry and Josh, yeah.
It was a couple episodes. This was my first guest star I ever got to do. And the first scene, this was before I was aware that people didn't like things. And I wasn't neutering. I wasn't even that I was brave around the fear. I just didn't know that I should be scared. And making a lot of specific choices. I'm doing a lot of improvisation. It felt unbelievable. I said to Billy, I want to say this to me and then I want to do this. He goes, yeah, well, I'll do that. And like, it felt like I'm collaborating with Billy Crystal. And I saw it in his eyes and we were laughing and it was great. It was great. And they write me in another episode, and this is so fun. I'm having such a good time. I'm making these strong choices. One of the ones they wrote me in was this thing where it's just Josh Gad and me sit in here. It's a not even a full page scene. It's a quick little thing about how Josh Gad is jealous that I'm friends with Billy. Blah blah blah. Billy's background because the next scene it's on set. It's gonna be over there. So Billy is background. And I do the scene, and then as a button, maybe they use it, maybe they won't. It was, all right, Josh is upset with me, and I walk off, and that was it. But when I walk off, since I'm friends with Billy, I go, Billy! And like I walk off, then I walk back on in the back quickly in case I could get to it. Billy, baby, just being overly confident with Billy. And making similar choices and just being silly the way I was before.
That's a great choice.
After we did it a second time, because I made that same choice again because I realized it took me too long to get off. So I'm like, if they're going to use it, make it usable. So I did it again. And then cut, and I'm looking at Billy because I'm close. And Billy's giving me a look that I didn't understand, but it wasn't the look that he was giving me before. I said, is there something? Am I missing something? And he goes, it's not your show. And I go, thank you for telling me. Are you saying because of doing this? He goes, yeah, not your show. And I go, well, thank you for, and I meant that. I'm glad he told me that as opposed to didn't tell me that. That stuck with me. And then some other things. Also, I'm being defensive. Mind you, afterwards, Billy met with me. We had talks and he was very nice. I think Billy likes me.
Oh, wait. You when you say we met and had talks, like, do you mean he kind of came back to you and like unpacked what he said to you and like,
I don't know.
He made it gentle?
He didn't unpack it. I don't know if he felt bad or that's just how he speaks and it meant nothing to him. He was just saying, hey, dude, stop doing this stuff. It wasn't a judgment on my character. I don't know. But afterwards, we had a coffee meeting. He had me do a table read. I don't know if he was overcompensating or not. It felt nice. But I also realized...
you do a table read, you got coffee, like...
He was
nice.
Okay,
well, I think he probably felt bad.
Yeah, maybe.
I liked you and felt bad is my point. You're very likable, by the way. I don't know where you would get this idea that you're not. I know people pretty well. You're very likable and you're very funny. I think the choice you made... If they really disliked it, their job is the job of a director in a moment like that is to pull you aside and say, "Hey, that's funny. We actually don't want that button." They say that to me all the time.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if I have a trophy or I've worked with so and so. Like, I get that note all the time still,
and I'm fine. I'm fine. That's great.
Course,
I love direction.
Of course, and sometimes it isn't an improv thing. Sometimes it's literally like, hey, I need more or less of whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Like, getting a note isn't a problem, but the way Billy did it lacked some bedside manner and even logic, really. Because logically, if you're working with another comedian and they make a choice and the director has not halted the choice, then you don't take it upon yourself to correct them because you don't like it. You would have at least a very brief conversation about the choice.
But to his credit, that's not an anomaly.
What do you mean?
Those things
Him doing that, you mean?
It's usually not said to me directly, but I have found out after the fact where it was said to the other people. I loved that he said it to me. But I'm saying I have made choices in my real life and professional life that have gotten that reaction. That was a good version of it. There is... that.
Can you give me a bad one, even if you can't name names or don't want to?
That basketball thing is from a short film, like a character piece I made called "I Am Phenomenal."
Yeah.
Which was...
I like the sincere turn in this interview. By the way, I like that we're talking about real stuff.
Yeah.
Earlier, I felt like we were kind of just dorking around. This is good.
I meet people through bits. You got to do bits first,
of course.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Cut to the action figure short film character piece.
I'm going to tell you because you don't know, but I get a little hesitant that I've talked about this. It's a video I taught. People know about this. But Bill Lawrence was my boss on a TV show, and before I got the show, he saw me at the Improv. Me and my buddy Brent Morin and John DeWalt. And then invited us. We started playing basketball with him for a while. I didn't have an agent. That was my first job. I got on this TV show because of him. I'm in the basketball game for years and years and years. Before the show, during the 3 years of the show, after the show, I know these guys. They were writers on the show. We've been playing together every week. And the inciting incident to some self-awareness that I came into that I said 6 years ago was, amongst some other things, this was kind of the bigger one. I got an email from Bill saying, hey, some of the guys in this game don't like playing with you. They don't come when you're here. Here's the reasons, take it or leave it. I don't want to kick you out of this game. I think it's best if you don't come for a while, and then I want you to come back. I just think you just lack some awareness of how people receive you, and now you can make a choice. It was kind of like what Billy did. It was very direct. I took it as kindness. It broke me. I thought the idea is that I am phenomenal because I am the best basketball player. Everyone loves playing with me. To find out that not only am I not the first one picked, people don't even show up when I'm there. Just the deviation of how far off I was. And I'm showing up and I'm trying really hard and I'm talking shit and I'm playing competitive because that's how I played and I used to play and that's how I connect with people. You push people around. I didn't consider that some people didn't want
verbally or physically push them around.
But I don't mean like between games I'm punching them. I just mean like you're bodying up, you're physical, you push. I mean, right. They're 40, 50-year-old comedy writers.
You like Jim Carrey and the cable guy playing basketball.
I don't know how they looked at me. I know nobody said anything to me. So and this, by the way, and when I learned stuff, looking back at my childhood, just I missed so much stuff. I talk about on stage now how I didn't realize that I had no friends. So I didn't grow up feeling lonely. I just thought everyone was busy. And like, I can't today.
That's really funny.
And like, I'm looking and like, I used to make kids wrestle me and like box. I don't want to. I thought they didn't want to because maybe they hadn't done it and they were a little nervous. But once they get hit once, they'll be okay because that's how I felt. I would just
right. I mean, that's some form of social awkwardness. Like we've all either dabbled in that or are straight and narrow that. I think my version of that, my social awkwardness in the past has been thinking I need to entertain everybody in the room.
Preach.
That's been an issue. Yeah. Another issue I have is trying to shoehorn my like political opinions and like stand by them with like some needless ferocity. Like that's another weird thing I do. So like I have a number of different things that I have had to like,
I bet,
turn down a little bit. Like I've had to turn the volume down on so many quirks of mine that are all rooted in insecurity and some form of anger. And so once I can diagnose that a little bit and go, I can see where that would feel abrasive, then I turn it down. Like a buddy of mine in high school, he went, my buddy John Kidwell back in high school. I say his name because I love this guy. He's a great guy. But back in high school, he once went to me, he went, Paul, like turn the volume down a little, like,
yeah.
Love and I was like that. Mortally offended.
Oh,
I was mortally offended. I was like, well, now I'm just going to be way more loud and annoy the crap out of you.
Right. Defensive.
I was so defensive, and I have been for years about so many things. And now, since getting sober, actually, not sorry to bring it back to that all the time, but like since getting sober, I've had to look at my part in all of these moments and go, yeah, you were annoying, Paul. Yeah, you were needy, Paul. Yeah, that did look a little thirsty. Yeah, you did kind of make that moment about you. Yeah, and it's like fuck. Like it's you feel but it's such a relief to understand it and to then not live in condemnation of it. Yeah, but to just be able to move on and do better. The Bill Lawrence basketball thing though kind of annoys me too because in my head I'm just like, were you being that? Like, was it really that much, or were these guys just a bunch of... Because Chappelle talks about people having brittle spirits, and I subscribe to that 1,000,000%.
I don't know this.
Chappelle talks about, like, some people have brittle spirits, and I'm sure someone will listen to this and be like, that was said in the context of this social political issue, so Paul must side with him on this political... No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, and I'm doing a pre-mortem, right? Post-mortem, pre-mortem. I'm looking at how someone's going to take this. And
well, yeah, your sensitivity to shoehorning your political opinions.
But I really do think so many people have really brittle spirits because they've either been through too much lately, which might be warranted, or they've never been through anything. And so they deem this to be like, it's like the wealthy person who's like, they didn't have the right towels in the hotel room. It's like, shut the f*** up. Like, you've been through nothing. Get over it. And so I think the basketball thing, like, while I can understand some of those sentiments, unless you were being outlandishly disruptive, I also think some of those guys need to stop being little bitches.
So there's the dichotomy that I go back and forth.
I get stuck in that gray, you know?
I absolutely get that when it comes from anger and acceptance and also this idea of taking responsibility where you can. And like, if it was Billy Crystal was the only person, if Bill, the guy in this basketball game were the only people, then it would be like, these guys.
But it's happened to a lot.
2 weeks before the basketball game, I got kicked out of a poker game. Which, by the way, that one I'll say, those guys are just boring fucks. I take responsibility. I was being fun. I was being funny. But people, they're still in, and I'm like, you know what? My hand's not that great, but I mean, unless you're a little bitch, it's full. You know, like just playing a very one-dimensional joking character that like, he's calling me a bitch. You're a bitch. Well, every hand a couple of times.
But also silly. In the right room, that character would be celebrated and they'd be like, we got to make sure
there were a couple
that Rick
of guys
is at poker.
There were a couple of guys that like, I don't understand. He's the fun. We were so much fun to play
and
with
that's
him.
Reading the room, which it sounds like you have had trouble reading the room in the
Still
past.
very, very much.
Yeah.
Still very much.
Well, that's something you got to get better
at. Maybe.
I say that lovingly. No,
I hear you. I would love to.
Being deflective.
I would love to. I just think I need to get better at making things more, even though it's not an excuse, your intention could be pure and people still take it a bad way. But the only thing I could control is my intention. And that's all I'm worried about.
And intentions, 100%. When people don't know you that well, though, the intention isn't going to translate. I think you have to look at it like it's an on-ramp. Every room you enter, there is an on-ramp before you are driving 65 on the highway. Now, on-ramp is not to... It doesn't mean you're not driving. It doesn't mean you pulled over on the side of the road or everybody hates your fucking car. It just means you are taking a temperature before meeting people at the assumed speed. And then at some point, if you want to change lanes really quick or you're going 80 because there's no cops, cool. Like that happens all the time on that highway. But I have to do it all the time with people because I have a very specific sense of humor that has kind of a Robin Williams-y relentlessness where I'm entertaining myself while entertaining them. It's not out of insecurity. It is out of fun now. But I read the room and go, okay, can they handle me going 85 and a 65?
Yeah.
Because if not, I would rather enjoy the night and be accepted by these people and go 67.
Well, that's a great skill set to have as somebody who I don't know very well, but
it can be worked on. I mean,
yeah,
you're a very bright guy. It's just about little adjustments over time.
Like you even said, sometimes you have to dial it down. You're even that way. So that's where I'm saying when you're on set, that feeling, the need to dial it down, gets in the way of the commitment. How do you know?
Does the need to dial it down get in the way? Well, here to put a finer point on your question, I want you to re-ask it. Are you talking, do I need to dial it down as Paul or the character?
Yeah. So I guess the insecurity comes from Paul then, Rick, because Rick's making choices again. I did a show called As We See It. And I was first on the call sheet. The reason I say that is it was an ensemble show, but somebody had to be first. But I say that because I was one of I had a responsibility of telling this story and driving it. And with filming the pilot, the first scene, I wanted to try something, and I asked the showrunner if we could do it because it involved moving a table and some stuff and needing a camera somewhere else. And I pitched it, and he said, great idea. They did it. It made it into the pilot. That gave me a sense of confidence, not in my creative ability, but in my acceptance as a professional with these people, right? That combined with being higher up on the call, being responsible for story, I allowed myself to take those breaths, right? There's a moment when I'm about to tell you, this didn't upset me. It made me laugh because I got it. But there's a scene. It was a very quick scene. It was a half a page. This actor was doing this. I walk in. I do one thing to transition to the next scene. And we did it a couple of times. I said, before you cut, there's one thing I want to try something. He goes, I know. And he said it like Rick loves trying stuff. And he said it with a little bit of a sharp attitude. I also took it as playful. He's nice. I think we're friends. But this idea of I know. Even when I think I'm doing well and accepted, oh, right, people are seeing me as somebody that's just really making choices. And it didn't make me feel insecure, I don't think, but it did make me check myself. Okay, pick your choices.
Yeah, I think that's good. Picking your pitches. Yeah. Because at some point, if you're having too much fun, you're kind of just coming up with stuff to kind of fulfill some sort of quota almost. I'm going to have an idea for everything.
Maybe. I feel defensive on that, so maybe.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out as you're trying to figure it out. I think for me, it's
you make a choice every line you do. I honestly, everything you do, there is a choice. Why that isn't that? A lot of people don't do that,
right?
And I understand you play characters and you do voices and you're tapping into different things. But nevertheless, there's always a choice. And a lot of your choices take time and are breaths and are very specific. And I'm sure there's choices that you've made that didn't make it, that you didn't like.
That's also me saying this is who I am. I'm very defensive when it comes to what it is that I do.
Who I am, Paul, or the character?
who I am, Paul, as an actor, my approach.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, guys, we want to have a real loose set and everybody's going to be super fun, you're not going to hire Joaquin Phoenix, and because it sounds pretty intense from what I hear, and Joaquin is also very intense and like cares so much about what's going on that he's not going to look at Twitter with you. He's not going to want to hear about your freaking grandfather's job in the Navy. Like, he's trying to do a job. So in that sort of thought process, I would say it is important for you to know thyself and to be confident in what it is you do, to then show up and go. And by the way, it doesn't mean you can't be malleable. I don't show up on a set and go, well, Spike Lee, well, Craig Gillespie, well, Peter Atencio, this is what I do, so you got to do it wrong. It doesn't mean you don't take direction and are a team player, but it does mean that if you hire me, you know you are hiring someone who is going to be very opinionated about some stuff, is highly specific, likes to improvise, and is going to have some ideas. And if you don't like that, there are 8 million other fat dudes fat white dudes in Hollywood who have an improv background and did some theater. Like, go pick one of them. Like, I'm very much, I'm trying to figure out why I am the way I am in saying this. I'm very staunch and kind of no bullshit about it because I think people know that's what I do. So when they hire me, they know what they're getting, I think. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's the weird little mini brand of character actor that I've become, that people know what they're getting, but I also, you also got to believe in a choice. I don't make a choice just to be like, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
It's very much, I'm doing this because I think it's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I think what I resonated with of you saying they know what they're getting. That's what you are when they hire you. What I realize is what I think people feel what they're getting is, oh, Rick's a loose cannon. Rick might be annoying. Rick might waste our time. So I think I am going in feeling casted in this very negative way, which I have heard about the Undateable job in particular, but then just other ancillary things that aren't work stuff, where I'm like, I do connect with that. And also, obviously, I'm projecting that. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I only feel that way on work. I don't feel that way interpersonally. I don't feel that way on stage.
I think I have a way we can learn something here rather than possibly tip into redundancy, which is, give me an example of a time where you exercised your right for creative influence and improv and it worked out well.
Well, the biggest one for me as an actor was the one I told you about, the pilot of the Amazon series, As We See It. And
what did you do again?
There
something with a table, a different camera angle.
Just the out of the scene. I don't mean this in a judgmental way, I don't think, but there wasn't one, which is fine. You don't always need an out. But I've always loved eat acting. I think it's funny, it's fun. It's yeah. There's some muffins over there that were just stage decoration, and I had to leave, so I asked if we could just put the muffins on the way out, so when I leave, I could even just acknowledge them and walk on. I ended up like playing with them and picking a different one, like a very small beat that just felt like, we're meeting this character the first time. Let me add something.
And what did we learn about the character by how you handled the muffins?
Well,
was it a funny bit of awkwardness that it's just like,
to me,
Michael Cera doing an out in Arrested Development? Or
no, it felt like the scene was him being sensitive to things, being sensitive to sounds, and he's distracted.
Okay.
So
it's brief, it's funny, and it says something about the character, and it solves a potential problem for the editor, right?
Well, it doesn't. It made it. It didn't make it a challenge for the editor. I think it would have been
solves
fine.
a problem. I think. Yeah.
I guess
a potential problem.
I guess I didn't think of it that way. I just thought it was.
But that is what that is. Just so you know.
But I mean, I could have just left, and that could have been the out.
But editors want choices.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they get to be the secondary filmmaker.
My intention was, all of these things that we're meeting on this character, and not in a bad way, we're meeting a character, felt a little bit like common tropes I've seen. And that's fine. Truly. Is it enough? I don't think so. Not that it would have been. It's one scene. But I wanted to put something of myself in it because, and the specificity on sounds is an hindrance, but it's specificity in just food and choices. It's lighter and it still makes sense to the character. So I just wanted to do that.
Sounds like it worked out.
It did work out.
So clearly you're more than capable of the good version of that. So that's where you just have to be careful because you don't want to neuter a performance.
I have a question that I don't mean it to be as inside actor. How are you on time, by the way?
I'm great on time. The only thing I want to do right now is look at my Letterboxd account because, heartburn. Excuse me. I want to look at my Letterboxd account because there's a movie I watched recently that I realized while watching it that I made a choice on a movie that I loved, but that choice is literally me mirroring something I saw in another movie. And it was a really fun kind of moment to go, we are like sponges. Mm-hmm. Sometimes like these things we do, end up coming out in really interesting ways.
Like when I have that bit that I do now about being a Mexican realtor. And like I kind of took that from you.
Well, that's my bit. Did you do that bit?
You looking for a house? What a home!
I just got an audition.
An audition for what? Wow.
Please read for your role. Please read for your interest in the role of. Should you respond, know that you have been offered per session for 2 guaranteed sessions.
I'm confused. Are they making you an offer or are you auditioning?
I think it's an offer.
Dude. That's a great movie.
It's a brilliant movie. There's the character.
Congrats.
Wait. There is no script available yet. Please find the sample character art and more about the project.
Well, what are you auditioning for? I don't understand.
It's not an audition. It's an... I think...
Should you respond? Would you like to be...
Well, they wouldn't tell me money...
Right. That's what... Right.
If it wasn't an offer. So it's an offer.
If this is announced by the time this episode comes out, could we keep this in?
100%.
How do you feel?
I'm just a little flabbergasted because I love the first movie. And it's like a bucket list thing for me. Like I always wanted to do a... Like I thought about it 3-4 days ago.
Particular?
Yeah. That I wanted to do that someday. And sorry, I'm just kind of having a moment. Yeah. And some people wouldn't have this moment and probably wouldn't feel anything, but I really care a lot. Jeez, what the hell? I'm really tired too. I have a little kid at home, so I'm not sleeping that well. I just really care about what I do a lot, and I love what I do. So this might look really silly to many people if they were to see this, which doesn't bother me at all. But that just hit me. That threw me for a loop. That was really cool. Really, really cool. God is good.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I might pass.
We'll be right back.
How funny was that?
Let's see if I can get 9,500.
Oh man,
that's really cool. That was really cool to see that offer for you
in
and the way
real
you received
time.
it. Yeah, really. You've done so many cool things, but But like, yeah, that is a big deal.
That's really cool. I hope it's what I think it is. I should also reserve some. I should be a little pessimistic and wait to hear from my reps before
the
manager and agent, see what they say.
Do you usually, the past few jobs, get offered, or is it an audition?
Most of them have been offers lately, but I did audition for Blackbird. That was a Zoom audition with the writer showrunner Dennis Lehane.
How many auditions?
Just the one. I did a couple icky, gritty, foul scenes where Larry Hall, the serial
I haven't finished it yet. I don't know if this is.
Oh, no, not a spoiler. Just him describing some of the acts or things he's done, and Dennis. I guess Dennis knew me from Cruella. I think he had seen me in because he has 2 daughters, so he had known me from.
You were so good in that, man.
Oh, thanks, man. I love that movie.
So good in that movie.
That's in my opinion, that's a great movie.
It's on my list when people say, what should I watch I haven't seen yet? It's on my list. Have you seen Cruella?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think it's super fun. That guy I work with, Joel Fry, he's on Our Flag Means Death, that HBO thing. And that guy is super funny too. I just felt the need to shout him out. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a while. But auditioned for Blackbird. Dennis Lehane thought this guy's kind of like a pudgy comedy guy. Like, I don't know if he's Larry Hall in Blackbird. And then me reading it is what allowed him to go, oh, he can go there. He can get dark and weird.
What was the conscious choice of the voice?
That was just his real voice. He
you saw footage. That's how he spoke.
There's no existing footage of Larry Hall.
Then how do you know that was his voice?
There's I found 10 to 12 seconds of audio of him in a deposition or something. There was audio of him in a deposition or interview, and it wasn't even that high pitched. It was more of a lower register, it was very. I remember thinking it sounded like molasses, where it was
I love food, dude.
I was trying to find a way for me and my brother to hitch a ride, but all the cars were parked and we didn't it was more that. And then I had it get higher unconsciously between episode 2 and 3, where it went from, I like auto parts to, I really like auto parts.
Without giving anything away, could you explain what you mean by you had to go from episode 2 to 3? It changed?
No, unconsciously, as if it were a mistake.
You were is that Paul finding this character as you go, or based on where he was at this point in the story, he's changing himself?
No, I mean it more I didn't tie my shoes. I just started.
And when did you notice that you were doing that?
It sort of like we were talking about driving earlier as an analogy.
Yeah.
I was going over a speed limit, so to speak, without knowing it.
But starting episode 3.
Around that time, yeah. And I think that's when you get too comfortable and you think you're just in the character. And it's almost
that's what they say.
It's almost like saying, I don't need to look at the instructions. I can put it together. I don't need your recipe. I know how to make.
Did you bring it back down, or did you stay there because here's where the character is?
I had gone too high in 3, and then Dennis pointed it out, and I was like, and he goes, well, he's in prison now too. Don't you think he could weaponize his voice? And I was like, so then from episode 4 on out, it was okay, he's going to weaponize the voice. This is his real voice. And then this is him kind of playing the feathery facade of I'm the victim, not the girls,
I'm very sensitive to, and I'm hesitant to, do I bleep? Because you just said playing that facade. If the character knew he was doing that, I do feel that's a tell. Is that something I should bleep?
Doing what? This physically?
That the character is playing the facade consciously.
No, I think that's pretty in the weeds. I don't think that gives away too much. They're gonna know that the character is to some degree deceptive. To what degree, I don't know, but
copy.
It's pretty obvious, I think.
Was there an excitement when you booked that are there different levels of excitement? Like this tapped into a childhood thing.
Yeah. The level of excitement to play a real person. I love playing real people. It's like cheating to me.
Cheating because you have the work, like the character study done for you.
Yeah, like to me, it's like
I think it's cool to be able to take things that already exist like that.
Yeah,
like nobody writes a character as full as if you're playing somebody who's real.
I think. So if I was a cast member at Saturday Night Live and they were like, "Hey, we got to do this sports sketch. We need you to play Chris Berman." Some people would be like, "Oh, I got to learn a Chris Berman impression within the next 36 hours." I would actually look at that like, "Cool, I'll just go watch a crap ton of Chris Berman on YouTube for 4 hours, and I'll come up with my Chris Berman. And it'll be great, or it'll be passable." This is kind of the serious dramatic version of that very same thing you're tasked with, where it's like study them, try to figure out the mechanical stuff and then the internal stuff, because it's obviously internal and external, you know.
Where do you find your improvisational background helps in something like that?
I think it helps with keeping your dance partner on their toes a little bit. Like, I never wanted Taryn to get too comfortable with me as Larry Hall, Taryn Edgerton, my castmate. So I would do certain things, not like I'm pushing him on a balance beam or something, but I'm definitely feeding him. I lost the analogy, so forgive me. I'm not trying to push him off his game, but I am trying to remind him that Larry is unpredictable. And sometimes some actors get so married to a script that there isn't a lot of variance. Not to say that Taryn didn't give me variance. I just mean the method. A good example, I did a movie called Beats for Netflix. It was me, Anthony Anderson, a couple other people. In the movie, Anthony and I were doing this scene where I'm eating chicken wings and he's kind of like in this thirsty moment of trying to get me to help him with his occupation.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like we had already gotten it and they kept doing takes. So I said to Anthony, I go, "Give me a word, give me any word." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Just give me a word I'm going to use in the scene." And he goes, "Elephant." And I did the scene after the day old cut. Anthony's like, "I don't know what that was. I didn't see no elephant or whatever." And I was like, "Whoa, wait." And I was like, "How was I eating the chicken wings?" And so he realized I was eating them like this. And when I'd finish a wing, I would go. And what it wasn't me just trying to look like an elephant's trunk. It was that the character was cocky and arrogant. And I was literally finding a way to set down the chicken wing in like a weird, like ballet sort of like.
But how did they keep him on his toes? Because you thought he would be expecting the word elephant.
Oh no! It's about me refreshing the take for me because I'm trying to give him something else. So if you tell me squirrel or Republican or ashtray, whatever the thing is.
What are the differences?
I'm going to.
Sorry.
I'm telling you.
Sorry.
Whatever the thing is, I will find a way to infuse that and still make it honest. It's not a detour.
But why ask him for an animal instead of just doing your own thing to make it different? Why bring him in as part of that? Is that part of the fun?
I think part of the spontaneity and the magic of it is not self-appointing, because then it's like you're making a pre-choice.
Yeah, literally getting a suggestion
then it's like I may as well just make a choice.
Yeah.
But if you feel out of choices and you need something to kind of dust the take off, I think you telling me a word, give me a word.
Tether.
Suddenly in this tense scene where I'm uncomfortable, I'm thinking of a tether and my head's kind of swiveling like the ball on the tether.
Yeah.
And it's a choice.
You're literally, just literally looking for suggestions to make a choice to.
Yeah, and sometimes it might be brilliant. Sometimes it might be fucking dumb, but
it's
like
specific.
It's a thin line.
Yeah. Do you ever do things where you want to be funny, but it like you have some like there's a funny choice to make, and or you're feeling funny.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily fit the character to where do you abandon it or do you try to find a way to tap into that energy to use it in a way that works?
If it doesn't really work, I won't do it. But between takes, I'll tell my co-stars or the director and be like, how funny would it be if, because I have to get it out. I can't just like keep it in.
And if they say yes, would you then, I'll try it?
Yeah. If they're like, we should try that. Like, of course I would do it. Yeah.
That's where I find myself doing that too much of not doing the thing, but instead like pitching it between. And then we're laughing. And like rehearsals, if we could film the rehearsals, because I by design I do the rehearsals silly and big because it's easier to bring it down than it is to up. And I'm just want to have fun and wanting to save it. And that's, I just feel I'm allowed to do it then. And just making, and there's so much fun and we're laughing. And there's times where like, I'm like, could we do this? And that's where I'm asking, like, that's really funny. They're like, it is really funny, but that's not what this is. And I'm like,
right, yeah, no.
But like, I'm being judgmental. There's a difference between Blackbird and just a fucking, pardon the judgment. There is no,
whatever.
A sitcom where like, it's funny.
Right, funny is funny to you.
Funny is funny.
Well, Dana Carvey talks about that with Saturday Night Live because Dana Carvey came from the school of like, it's about getting the laugh. I come from stand-up, just get the laugh. And then Lorne Michaels is more of, there's more structure there and there has to be reasons behind everything. Yeah, I think you can live in the middle.
But I have found that a lot of the times I'm like, this is fun. They're like, that's not what this is. And I think, let's change the show.
Well, you find that in improv too, though. Improv theater is very much like, what is your kind of why? And how are you building the tower higher? How are you being additive? Because there have been plenty of times where I'm like, here's a funny walk-on bit. I'm just going to walk in and pretend to be the waiter and say something that I think is funny. And then it's like, well, you didn't really give them a gift either. And the whole idea of improv is you're kind of giving gifts and feeding. You can feed, but if you go, it's like, that's permissible once in a while, but not all the time, or then you're that fucking guy.
You're great, dude.
Thanks, man. So are you.
Thank you.
I look forward to getting to work with you at some point because I think in a comedy setting especially, we would have a lot of fun and we would allow each other to try stuff,
Yeah. I assumed, and I have since been validated when having this conversation with you, but I assumed of you, there's this thing in you that is, you just seem like a very honest person, at least performer. But I think that translates to a person and funny. And that's just like, there's a lot of comedians that aren't good actors. Not that they need to be. And there's a lot that are. But like, when you could be funny and believable without jokes, it's just like, I want to play with this person. It just feels like I want to play with you, and this wasn't that much yet.
Who else do you think does that? Like
Andrew Santino is probably number one out of all stand-up comedians.
That guy's great. He beat me out for a few things, especially back in the day, I think. He beat me out for I'm Dying Up Here.
Oh yeah? You went for the same role?
I went out for a couple roles in that, but Andrew beat me out for that and a couple other things, I think. And I told him too in person at where was I? I saw Andrew at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery at a movie screening. And I went up to him very, very emphatically. I was like, "You're great, man." I was like, "You just beat me out for such and such." And he took it. I think he thought it was awkward that I was saying that.
Oh, like saying, "Hey, you took my milk money?"
Yeah, when I was really just trying to pay like a specific compliment. I think I did that to this guy by the last name of Gill too. Dan Gill, is that his name?
Oh, I know Dan.
Yeah, I did it to Dan Gill too. I was like, "You beat me out for the wedding ringer with Josh Gad and Kevin Hart," and he looked at me like, "Who are you, weirdo?"
No, he didn't.
No, I think he did, or I may have misinterpreted. I don't know, Dan. It was, where did I see him? I think I saw him behind the Dresden.
In an alleyway, you approached him saying, "You beat me out." Maybe
I may have had some drinks in me too, so maybe it was me actually.
Might have been, especially if it's behind a building.
Trying to ham it up. Yeah, look, is this guy gonna attack?
Hey, Dan!
And that's the thing too of going back to the lack of self-awareness. Sometimes it's like when I got sober, I realized I'm like, who knows how I said or did certain things while under the influence of marijuana or alcohol or ego or all three. Like that can be a horrible trifecta.
Has success helped you want to be sober, or was that more family or something else?
Oh God, it was everything. I heard, so I'm a practicing Christian, though I almost shudder to even say the C word because it seems like it's almost synonymous with the other C word nowadays.
Oh.
I'm a Jesus guy. That's what I tell people.
Did you grow up that way?
I did.
And then you went away and it came back?
It became less about, the older I got, it became less about religion and more about relationship to God and relationship to other people.
How's that what's the difference?
Well, one can be very legalistic and is oftentimes controlled by egotistical white men who are like, I follow the Bible, but also you're going to have to follow my interpretation of the Bible. And it's like, well, you're still just a person who went to college, so calm down.
And that's how you grew up. You grew up with that way.
A little bit of that way. But by the way, plenty of good folks, plenty of great lessons learned. It's not like I'm making a blanket statement, but I do think there is a huge difference between being a religious and a person of faith.
Uh-huh.
And I now identify more as a person of faith who loves and believes in Jesus. Why the hell did I say that? There was
getting into, is that your sobriety?
There's something in Christian spirituality or mysticism called the still small voice. You believe that the Holy Spirit can sometimes communicate to you, which is like a little bit UFO for folks who aren't into that, which I totally respect and understand. But I very vividly heard a voice in my head that was not my voice tell me, Paul, you need to get sober because there are people who can't be blessed until you get sober.
Who are those people?
I heard that voice in like 2016, 2017. And I didn't get sober for like another 5 years. That's how selfish. I had conviction that this was God telling me it. I'm so selfish that I didn't get sober for another 5.5 years.
Did you know
isn't that interesting though?
Did you know who those people were that can't be blessed?
I'm still learning every day or every several months or years. Like it's unveiling itself still. Definitely my kids, my two boys.
You didn't have kids at the time?
No. The people I work with are getting a better version of me sober, a more thoughtful,
Did you
loving.
show up drunk?
Oh God, no, I wasn't one of those. I wasn't one of those who was unprofessional in the work environment, but a lot of like drinking alone and like getting high for no reason. Just
were you married at the time?
High to be high. For some of it, but most of it predating my relationship to my wife.
Were you lonely?
Oh, yeah.
So did you find God or did you find community? And I don't mean they're mutually exclusive.
I always had community. I was very popular growing up.
What was the loneliness?
Maybe loneliness with self, if that doesn't sound too literarily lofty, like I'm trying to sound like something, but I didn't love myself. I really love myself now. I'm genuinely like, I'm okay with Paul. In fact, I'm more than okay with him. But for years, I fucking hated myself because I thought, you're fat, you're dumb, your only value is comedy. You have to be the next Chris Farley or John Candy or Galifianakis. Women only look at you as a friend or like a brother figure. These handsome guys think you're a piece of, like, when I got the I, Tonya role, in my head, I literally thought to myself, I'm like, oh, Sebastian Stan, this guy's going to be like one of these pretty boy guys who thinks I'm annoying, and it's like high school mentality of like, fuck the jocks. And then I met him, and he's like the sweetest guy, and he literally, you know, has like the sort of neurotic, funny nature of, I shudder to say Woody Allen because he's such a
don't shoehorn it. Woody Allen, he made movies. It's fair.
A Woody Allen-ness to himself, like of like being neurotic and being self-deprecating, even though he's beautiful and handsome and talented and all the things, you know. So like that was the alcoholic thinking of like everybody's against me. It's me against the world. I can't be friends with pretty people. I need to be friends with my type of people. Like all this weird divisionist shit.
You talking about my type of people is who?
My type of people would be like Patton Oswalt. You're a rotund, comedic person who probably got bullied at some point, you know.
Pardon my candor with this question, but as somebody who identified as being lonely and women don't want them, is that something that you bring into the character in Blackbird? Do you completely fabricate a character? Do you bring your own emotional?
There's a piece of me in every character I play.
Is that a conscious choice? Are you drawing upon memories
I
and
think
feelings?
it's an inevitability, unless you're Daniel Day-Lewis. But like,
you don't think he does that?
I don't know. He seems like the most dissolving of any actor of our time. Him and Gary Oldman, maybe, or Cate Blanchett, who's just an alien. She's so talented, it almost scares me. There's a piece of me in Larry Hall for sure. Not the stuff that put him behind bars, but like loneliness, feeling outcast, being thirsty for commonality and relationship. Absolutely.
Does drawing upon those things drain you at all? Make you sad at all? Or is it just on set?
Not really. I think. What do I think? I think that having those commonalities is what can anchor a performance and allow you to feel like you're in it. Without that, I think it becomes problematic where I feel like I'm acting. You know what I mean? So it's really good as like, if I'm building a house, my cement and my flooring is definitely commonality, even if it's one thing.
Would the analogy benefit, just from what you've told me, to making this a gingerbread house? Because up until now, pretty much every analogy was the voice was molasses and like
if you're building it, no, 100%. And I'll just call it a candy house.
Okay.
That way we don't have to be married to gingerbread like it's teak wood or something. This candy house needs a wooden platform, which is commonality for me. The structure is like, I need to cinch into something with this character in a real way. Then once that is done, the sugar-coated wallpaper of Twizzler shutters and gumdrop doorknobs, that is all the other weird fun stuff of, well, I think Larry Hall eats like this. Well, I think Larry Hall twirls his hair like a little girl in curls. Well, I think Larry sometimes will purposely look left when someone points to the right.
That's fun.
Like whatever the thing is. And that's fun. Once you have the base of the house, it's like, that's just HGTV. I'm just having a ball picking out all my shit.
They're looking the wrong way. Sometimes I'll go up to somebody and tap them on the shoulder, you know, and they look because you're over here on the other end, but I always do it where I'm on the side that I tapped.
I love that.
So
I did a thing on a show called Kingdom. Oh, I told you about Kingdom. I did a thing on Kingdom once where my character flashes someone his genitals. And and this actor, Matt Lauria, his character Ryan, is like reprimanding me. And I'm like very much thinking like I did the right thing in this moment because the character's way out there.
Oh, it wasn't scripted to Flash.
Oh, no, it was. Oh, yeah, it was scripted. But I mean, in the reaction to that moment where Matt's character is like reprimanding me in character, I improvised a moment where I go, Ryan, and I go, this is fucking BS. And I'm sure I saw some other comedian do it at some point in like a version of it somewhere. But the idea of saying the F word and then following it up by abbreviating a lesser curse word is very funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff like that.
Those are math jokes to me.
Math jokes?
Yeah. Like, I think about jokes as math a lot. There's like the kind of structure of it.
Yeah.
And that joke to me is the formula. It was fucking BS, but it's the opposite of heightening.
Oh, yeah.
It's a subtraction joke.
Yep. The aristocrats versus like the shit eaters. That joke of like, we can either say they do disgusting things and call it the aristocrats, or they do a bunch of nice things and they're called the Nazi molesters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase does a lot of those.
It's a lot misdirection.
Well, it's one of a lot of people when you're expecting a left turn, it's no longer a left turn. So I find a lot of times, right where it's supposed to go, you just go forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like you are negating the turn.
Which is the turn.
Which is the turn. I used 100%.
I used to do a joke, and it's a very long joke, but I'm going to do just the setup and the punchline of it. Guy walks into the doctor's office. You know, the doctor, he's doing his thing, blah, blah, blah. I got good news. I got bad news. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff. In the end is like, the good news is, the bad news is you have strep throat, but the good news is insurance will cover everything. There's a lot of jokes in between, but like there is no.
It's so funny,
and I love that. Feels like that type of thing.
Yeah,
well, wait. If you're setting this here, we're going the opposite way.
Oh yeah, Norm Macdonald did one of the best versions of that joke I've ever seen when he did Weekend Update. He said, I forget the girl's first name, Alicia or something. He said, Alicia Onassis is the world's richest girl, and she recently celebrated her birthday. To tell you how rich she was, at the party, there were 2 cakes. Like,
yeah,
my brother and I, we quote that all the
That's
time.
great.
It's recently reported that Madonna is pregnant, which I find hard to believe because she isn't even married. Like, I love stuff like that.
It's also clean. I don't think you need to be clean ever, but when it is clean, it's just
clean. Always, it's
good. It's
to me, clean comedy is like eating a farm to table meal. It's like, this is kind of annoying and hard to do, but also when I have it, I go,
yeah,
this is really actually better
yeah.
than the other thing. Yeah.
I think that was my favorite food analogy of the day.
We should probably end it there then.
Is there anything, I apologize for not knowing, is there anything to plug? After Party Season 2, July on Apple.
I'm on Instagram at Paul W. Hausergram.
HAUSER.
HAUSER, like the street out here.
And you needed to add Graham at the end? It was already taken?
No, I just did that, I guess. I don't.
See if you get rid of the Graham.
Graham Cracker, Graham.
Right.
Graham
Maybe
Norton.
make a candy house just to be safe. So you have Apple, you have Instagram, you have Paul.
I have the
Hauser,
after party
Twitter.
on Apple this summer.
Yeah.
I did a cameo in a Netflix comedy that'll hit in September, but I'm not going to say what it is because I want people to be surprised by the bit.
Bleep this. Is it?
Yes.
I'm in it too.
Wait, who'd you play?
Rick. It's me.
And then I am on the season finale of Bupkis on Peacock with Pete Davidson.
I didn't watch it. I want to ask how is it, but you can't ask somebody on air.
I loved it. I genuinely like watched it and thought, this is like this is like Curb Your Enthusiasm meets Entourage, and it's super silly, but it has poignant moments. Like, there's a couple performances in season 1 of Bupkis that are like some of the best performances of the last 2 or 3 years, in my opinion. Specifically, Bobby Cannavale. Like,
bro,
unbelievable.
He is one of my favorite actors ever, and I got to work with him on something. I won't say what it is, but when I saw him in Win-Win. Do you ever see that movie?
Oh, I love Win-Win.
So good. Win-Win is at the top of the list when somebody says, "What haven't I seen that I should watch?" Win-Win, because a lot of people haven't.
To see Win-Win.
But
I cast that kid Alex, the kid who plays a wrestler.
On what?
I flew him from New York to LA to act in a short film I directed.
Because of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything else.
He's really good, but I think he's got a pretty good bank account. I think he comes from some wealthy folks. I don't know if he's.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know if he needs to work.
Everyone needs to be creatively fulfilled.
He's a very good actor, though. I love that guy.
All right, that's it. Thanks for coming over, man.
Thank you for having me, and I genuinely look forward to working with you. And if that doesn't even happen, just hopefully just hanging out with you.
I would love that.
You're a very cool guy.
Thank you. Big fan of yours, man. I think you're. I'm a really big fan, so I appreciate it. And takeaway from this, I was asking some questions that were maybe something I would ask you over coffee instead of on a podcast, but you're here and I wanted to ask you, is the idea of love over fear, which I understand what you're saying, but in practice, like, I know I'm doing something for fun. I know I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I do know that. And I think I'm going to go in making a little more confidence in doing my thing, because I got stifled a little bit after, like I said, finding some stuff out. And I
think you need.
I connected very strongly with this because you do it. You do what I want to do.
And to give a button to that, I always said
to make it easier for the editor.
So
you're welcome.
Funny. I always told people in high school, I wouldn't get in trouble very often. I would get like close to being in trouble, but then kind of get away with it, or like some of the faculty thought the thing was funny, and then they kind of take the piss off. I always said I try not to cross the line, but I always dance on it. And that to me is the game as an actor too. That tick of I'm not going to cross the line, but I'm going to dance toward or on it. I employ that in everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not to the detriment of other people or projects, but
you'll never know.
If there are complaints, I'm not hearing them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
And to you, Billy Crystal, because I know you're watching, shut the scoot do. I wish I was Mexican and a realtor so that I could start a business called What Up Homes. Still works. Are they hard? Still works.
Blabbity blue, scoot dee. Oh yeah. Skittle